Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of Newsmakers. I'm Jerry Roberts. It is Friday, August 9th. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, Josh Molina of Newshawk, Nick Welsh of The Independent, and we expect Callie Fausey to be parachuting in at any moment. Speaking of parachutes, well, not exactly. Anyway, hey, Nick. So Elon Musk, everybody's favorite human, has got the US military in his pocket, apparently, with all of his SpaceX launches going on. And the issue of increasing the number of launches was ostensibly before the Coastal Commission yesterday, but it didn't work out that the military had too much interest in what the Coastal Commission had to say, I take it.
Well, yeah, it was a hearing on the Social Commission was being asked to weigh in on whether or not the proposed increase in rocket launches from Vandenberg was in conformance with the Coastal Act. They don't really have any say or jurisdiction. Anyway, hey, Callie, uh, and they're going from 6 rockets that are approved now to 36, and then they're going to jump to 50 in October, and then sometime after that, about 100, which
100 a year.
100 a year, which is a pretty big increase from 6 to 100 in about a year's time. And the coastal commissioners had a lot of concerns about, what does the effects of the sonic boom have on critters down below, and they wanted the Air Force, which is the agency who's seeking the permit on
Is it
Elon
the
Musk.
Air Force or the Space Force?
Space Force, thank you, um, to agree to do more monitoring so that if sea lions are being stampeded and crushing their children, as some people have alleged, or if there's a an adverse effects on the critters, they want to know. The Air Force showed up, or Space Force showed up, and they said, "Thank you very much. We are very committed to the environment. We have a track record of looking out for endangered species here that's second to none. We have 40 people on staff out at the base to make sure that the environment is protected, and there were 7 conditions that the Coastal Commission wanted included. The first 3, which were the most meaningful ones when it came to monitoring, the Air Force said, no way in the world are we going to abide by this. And then for good measure, they said, and by the way, we will not be accepting any questions, which was sort of a massive throw the mic down. And the chair of the Social Commission, a woman named Cindy Hart, said, excuse me, was that for us or for the staff or for the public? And the vice commander who was speaking at the time said, that's for all of you. We're not answering any questions. And the commissioners, all their heads all sort of exploded in unison. And after about 40 people or 45 people said their piece, the commissioners took their turns, and they were just incredulous at the fact that they would not even answer their questions. They were equally incredulous that Elon Musk didn't send anybody from SpaceX there. Now, one of the big issues here, why Elon Musk is an issue, is most of these launches are Elon Musk SpaceX launches that have nothing to do with the
There's
military.
nothing to do with the military.
And they had graphs there that showed that, you know, it looks like if it was 20% of the launches had, military payloads in them as opposed to, commercial ones, that would be a lot. And so there was a lot of frustration by the commissioners that Elon Musk, a private operator, was being allowed to have all this impact on the public resources that the Coastal Commission is charged by law with protecting. One of the issues was that there are other agencies that does do some monitoring of this, but there have been big data drops. Oops, a whole bunch of data just disappeared. We don't know why. And the coastal commissioners were saying, well, you need to build in some redundancy into your systems so that this doesn't happen again. That did not get anywhere.
So is this a done deal now? They're gonna do whatever they
Basically,
want, basically?
as one of the commissioners said, this is a joke, we're a joke, and you're a joke. Not quite, but pretty close. They voted unanimously to impose all 7 conditions. The Air Force said, we're not going to abide by the first 3, and we're going to proceed. And
So is there
there was
litigation? Is there litigation in
there
it?
is a potential of litigation, but nobody threatened that directly. Yesterday, the Coastal Commission staff did, however, say they were within rights to their legal jurisdictional rights to insist on those conditions, which sounded like if we sued, we actually have a basis. But nobody was waving that saber around because I think it's just a massive jurisdictional nightmare. And I don't think anybody had much appetite for it. They were hoping that they had what they thought was a cut the baby in half solution. And the Air Force said, no, we want to cut the baby in quarters.
And we'll take 3/4.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Josh, I know you had your big interview with Hilda Maldonado this week, and I want to get to that in a minute. But Callie, I want to ask you something about the school district. You had a story about this job fair that's coming up, and at sort of first glance, it's like, oh, who cares? But then the numbers of people that they are seeking for both bilingual education and also for para educators is huge. I mean, it's what is it? It's like about 150 people altogether or something, isn't it?
Not quite. It's a little bit over, I think 70. So they have 69 vacancies in paraeducators. And then they have about, I think they're searching for 5 people right now for bilingual curriculum specialists.
It's still a lot of people, and I think for me at least, it explained a lot about why part of the reason why some of the teachers are so angry this year, because they had no help at all.
Yeah, a lot of the teachers throughout the last school year spoke to me about classroom disruptions, basically having to cater to children with, I guess, behavioral issues who should have had direct one-on-one support, but didn't. And that took away from, regular like classroom instruction. They felt, like out of their depth with trying to teach a class while dealing with some of the kids who should have had that extra support. So it really wasn't fair to anyone involved.
Yeah. And when is this job fair?
Saturday from 1 to 4 at the district office.
Okay. All right. And the one question I had, is there an educational attainment level required to be a paraeducator?
I think you have to at least have like an associate's, but they're reaching out to current college students, like students or students pursuing like a career in education at UCSB or Santa Barbara City College. So yeah.
So people should check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see by the happy picture of everybody grinning on Ed Hat that the final stamp has been put on the last contract, I guess, for the staff employees.
All of the tentative, they've reached like all the tentative agreements that they wanted to settle in the contract, but they still have to vote. CFCA membership and the school board still have to approve at least the tentative agreement on wages.
The teachers have approved their piece, correct?
Oh yeah, the teachers have approved their piece. It's just the staff employees who haven't voted yet.
Yeah. All right. And Josh, you had an opportunity to speak to Hilda for 13 or 14 hours this week. about all of the difficulties that the school districts and she have had this year. What was your takeaway after talking to her?
Everybody tells me shorter interviews, Josh, but I just can't shut up, when I'm there in the
That's
moment.
right.
So,
Everybody tells me shorter shows too, but I don't know. Pay attention to that
uh,
either.
well, this is the first time Hilda Maldonado in 4 years has agreed to be on my show. I think she's been on your show a couple of times, Jerry, and she answered all my questions. I wouldn't say that she was apologetic. In fact, the feedback I've received so far was just people continuing to be upset with her and angry at her answers. She did get the same raise that the teachers did. She has a Me Too clause in her contract. That's what it's called. And she said, and I asked her, I said, well, do you feel like a little icky accepting that money when there's so much dispute and they work so hard for this increase? And, she says, maybe I should have asked for the 23% to bankrupt the district, too. Like she's kind of jesting. And I don't think that landed very well with the teachers who have seen the show. She talked about Hoseby Galindo and she basically like suggested
Union leader, the teachers
the
union.
Santa Barbara Teachers Association president basically said like he's one guy in private and another guy in public. That in private he's like a nice guy, and then he goes out to the boardroom and acts like he doesn't know her, and they don't have conversations. So, she basically said, "Hey, we gave them every opportunity to reach a deal early. They didn't want it," and then she doubled down and said, this was all from a playbook on how to protest and how to put pressure on the school board and the superintendent. And so she said you can look at it anywhere. It happens all over the state. She saw it before it happens, and that it was basically just sort of like a formula protest that they were doing.
Did she give any indication of what what the district's original offer was? Was it basically what the teachers ended up taking?
It basically was. It was. I think they agreed to 1% each year and extra, so that it was like basically 2% differential between what the district's original offer and what the mediator or the outside hearing officer said that it should be. But she talked about, she didn't. I called it an exodus of staff. She said, look, Josh, these are high level administration cabinet positions. People come and go, they leave. She left, everyone else left, everyone goes. It's just how it is. So she very much downplayed the impact. But, she did say that, of course, she hates losing people. But it wasn't as though I've come a long way and I've learned and I hope to change and I want to make a new beginning. It wasn't really that vibe. It was more of a, I think she actually told me hearing the criticisms was like a little arrow through her heart. So it was very much an opportunity for her to show how she feels. But I
But
don't think she gained
she
any
didn't
fans.
acknowledge that any of the rough going the last couple of years has been her responsibility at all. Josh, you're muted. Josh, you're muted.
How's that?
That's
Better.
good.
Not really. She said that she went to some coaching. She said no leader likes to hear that the reason people are leaving is because of her. But then she put it on me, which I guess
Put it on you?
it's the easy thing for people to do is to blame the journalist. But she said, people are telling you that. You're the only one I'm hearing it from. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. But it was very nice. It was a good interview. She talked about her personal story, coming to the US at 11, having to learn English, having to navigate through the system. So there are parts of it that are very interesting. But I don't think that anyone's going to watch that and feel like, oh, I misunderstood her all that time. I think they're going to feel like, well, that's exactly who she is. But it is an hour and 20 minutes, so have some coffee.
Well, yeah. Well, we got a big weekend coming up. So binge on Santa Barbara Talks this weekend. And forget Bridgeport or Bridge. What is it? Bridge what? I don't know. Anyway, so today, I believe, is the deadline for filing for open seats. So are we expecting either one of you guys? Do we know if there's going to be interesting school board races yet or not?
Well, I'm working on kind of a roundup story. There are going to be interesting school board races. I know that There's a couple of seats on the school board that are going to be contested. Bill Banning is running for re-election. Wendy Sims Moten is not. Sunita Bill is running for re-election. And I believe there's a third candidate as well. There's also Goleta School Board. There's Santa Barbara City College. There's city councils all up and down. And the conservatives, they're putting out emails. They're putting out
Yeah,
calls.
they had kind of a cattle call for people to come and run for something, please. Yeah, I saw
I
that.
know Christy Lozano, I heard, is running again for Santa Barbara County Office of Education. So, wow, it's going to be a mess on election day.
I'll look forward to Callie getting together with Christy Lozano. That'll be one for the ages.
So,
You gotta have her
is Tom
back in
Cole
line.
gonna run against Salou Carbajal?
What's that?
Is Tom Cole gonna run again?
Oh, yeah. I hear from Tom Cole regularly.
Oh, yeah, he
He's
sent an
gonna-
email saying it was our responsibility to set up the debates. That was the three. How many debates does he want with Salud? 12, 15?
I don't think Salud will do it with him. And so he's looking for
If
his
KYT, I bet if KYT invites him, they will. Hey,
Yeah.
Callie, one more school thing real quick. This teacher at Santa Barbara Charter School who had the cameras set up on little kids and stuff. Where does that thing stand? Has he been charged with anything?
Yeah, so well, he was arrested originally on a misdemeanor for I think it was like invasion of privacy with a recording device, but he hasn't been charged with any other criminal charges. But a family of one of the students who was, recorded, a victim of the recordings, is filing a claim against the school district and Santa Barbara Charter School. And I think this girl is, like 13. She went to the school from like 2016 to 2023. And yeah, so her family is seeking, I think, compensation for this. And it's also a precursor to potentially filing a lawsuit down the line.
And he's been fired, I take it.
Oh, well, the director of education said his teaching contract expired on June 7th. Last I talked to her, though, for the original story, what she said that he was placed on indefinite leave, and then she said that his contract expired on June 7th, but no matter what, he's not returning to the school. He's done.
Chapter 373, Why You Can't Fire a Teacher in California. Okay, hey Nick, speaking of difficult bureaucratic stories, you had the latest on our offshore oil epic ongoing story. So it looks like the oil company's kind of back in business, but not exactly.
Okay, what you're referring to is this new company that just popped up in the last couple of years called Sable. And they bought Sable, Sable, and they bought out all of Exxon's operations here. And Exxon had just bought out Plains All American Pipeline. So the real question is, when do we get the pipeline started again? The pipeline, is people might remember, in 2015 sprung a big rupture because some of the walls were so corroded, like 80% of the wall was gone. And so it has been shut down, and all of the sort of Sandy unit operation has been shut down. And we're looking somewhere about the neighborhood of 25,000 barrels a day worth of production hasn't been happening. So Sable is trying to get everything up and going again. So they, in order for them to get operating, to get the permits they needed from the state fire marshal to say you're safe to go, they need to have what are called automatic shutoff valves, which would be, if there was a leak sprung on any of these pipelines, it would shut everything down so it would really minimize the amount of oil. At least that's the theory. But since they're going to use the same pipes that they're still in the ground, the question is, how much oil is it really going to save? In any event, we went to the Board of Supervisors a while back. They were tied 2-2 with one of the supervisors, Sharon Hartman, saying she had a conflict of interest because the pipeline was near her house. And with 2-2, you couldn't approve the shutoff valves. The shutoff valves are required by state law. It went to court. The judge said to the county, excuse me, state law mandates shutoff valves, and work it out with the oil company. And so up on the 4th floor where the supervisors live, there's a lot of freaking out. Like, do we want to go toe to toe with Goliath on this? And if we do, are we going to get stepped on? And how much are we going to have to pay? So they're freaking out on the 4th floor about having a losing hand with the oil company. The Linda Klopp, who is the attorney with the Environmental Defense Center, who has been bird-dogging this longer than anybody, says, well, no, it's more complicated. It won't be a taking. You have a stronger case. And her argument is that if you look at some of the draft environmental documents, that even with the shutoff valve, if there was a spill, again, with the existing pipes, it would be twice as bad as the spill that we saw in 2015 with in a worst case scenario. So I don't know if that made any sense or if that was all gobbledygook. But the battle.
I don't see that. Yeah, I mean, that's a good argument about the spill, but it's still a taking, right? I mean, for Fifth Amendment purposes, I would think.
I don't think I didn't detect any gung-ho-ness up on the 4th floor, like, let's go take it to them. I mean, when it was 2-2, that was really good because they didn't say no. And it was like, there was no action taken, so you can't sue us, and it stops you. So that was like a perfect sort of non-action action. But now, the fire marshal told Sable, go work it out with the county. The federal judge said to the county, go work it out with Sable. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Hey, and another beach-related story, Callie. We have seals and sea lions that are being sort of neurologically affected, but also dying from domoic acid. Is it just like a thing that happens, or is it getting worse because of the climate? Or I mean, it just seems like more it happens more and more.
Yeah, so it's happened, these domoic acid or red tide events. The domoic acid comes from or is a neurotoxin that is from algae, like toxic algae blooms. And these toxic algae blooms have increased over the last few decades. And so this is the 3rd consecutive year that it's affected Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. Because these harmful algae blooms are becoming more frequent and more severe as ocean temperatures rise, carbon dioxide levels in the water rise, and nutrients run off from human sources like farms and cities.
So nothing to be done about it except try to help the poor little critters.
Basically, there's already a lot of negative consequences of climate change and the impacts that we've had on our environment that are basically already baked in to the ocean. So there really isn't much that we can do about it now, other than help these poor sea lions that eat the fish, that eat the algae, and it builds up in their system, causes brain inflammation, heart problems.
Sounds like
but
us.
we do have some very dedicated local volunteer organizations.
Because Henry found one the other day. So what are people to do if they encounter one of these suffering critters on the beach?
So you're not supposed to touch it. Stay 50 feet away, and call the Channel Islands Marine Wildlife Institute, who will come out and observe the sea lion and do a rescue if necessary. And people can find that number in their website, on my story on the Independence website.
All right, we'll put it in the show notes too. All
Perfect.
right, time for a little State Street bashing, downtown bashing. Josh, you had an interesting piece about the new downtown assessment district, which is supposed to be including businesses to tax themselves, but it appears at least one residential property has been included in it as well. What's that about?
Yeah, it's something like 24 residential properties total. These are condo owners. And so we're talking about Chapala Street. So the city, I should say, property owners voted to assess themselves to create a community benefit improvement district. And so this money would go toward improving downtown, cleaning the streets, marketing, private security. They believe Santa Barbara, the city's not doing enough. So just like Coast Village Road, creating their own improvement district. The city of Santa Barbara, by the way, is a large property owner downtown. So they actually voted for this and they swayed the vote. So they got a majority support. So this happened. And now it turns out there are some condo homeowners who've been included in the CBID, and they are going to have to pay this fee, this annual fee, this improvement fee themselves. And they are kind of upset because they're like, hey, we are residents. We don't have businesses, we don't have properties. And just because we live on the 300 block of Chapala, which, 20 years ago, these were those like chocolate and yellow, it was very controversial Chapala buildings that were built. And, people are like, what are those big, condos going downtown? It was a big ABR thing. So they live in these buildings, and it's sort of by, Ablett's and D'Angelo's, and it's like Lower State Street. And so they went to the city. This woman, she went to the city, one of the homeowners, Marilyn Brewer, and she said, hey, what are you doing? Like, you should get rid of us, And the city actually exempted some single family property owners downtown from the CBID, but they didn't exempt the condo owners. And I think there's some question as to how they're able to identify an owner occupied condo or not. And so Sarah Connect, the city attorney, she says, too late. We already sent this to the county assessor's office. And if you want this to be changed, city council, you'll have to do it for next year. And so now these homeowners are like, oh my goodness, it's not, I shouldn't say it's not a whole lot, but it's like $300 that they're going to be charged. This is what Marilyn Brewer had figured out the math, but it could go up 5% every year. And so she was making a big case about, well, this affects her. She's a senior citizen. What about future development? But I think it's more of a thing of like, wait a minute, you guys passed this CBID for property owners, and people who own condos are now going to have to pay for it. I think that's the weirdness of it.
Yeah, that is weird. And then to the extent that, as you say, the city kind of swung the vote because they own a lot of property, are they then taxing themselves? How's that going to work? Is it just going to be shuffling money around in the budget, I guess, probably, huh?
Yeah, everybody has to pay a percentage based on the amount of property that they own. But I don't remember the exact percentages, but if the city of Santa Barbara did not support it with the property they own, it would not have gotten on the ballot. So, or would not have been approved. So,
And the county of Santa Barbara, which also owns a lot of real estate downtown, they also voted, and they also voted in favor. So the two of them combined got it over the top.
yeah.
And, Nick, you had an interesting little downtown piece. Our old friend Carl Hutter used to run the Natural History Museum, has a great idea for that bank building on State and Carrillo, right? What does he want?
There's an empty bank building at State and Carrillo. It was it's been empty for about a year and a half, when there was a merger with the banks and they didn't need yet another bank building. And Carl Hutter and he's not the only one, he's angling to get sort of an ongoing farmers market outpost there. It wouldn't be just farmers market, but it would be produce and anything that you
Make
can
a fish,
eat
could you
or
put a
drink.
fish market? Could you have a fish market in there?
You could, but I think the fear is you want to stay clear of anything where the county health inspectors are involved. So you would do bread, you do wine, you do whiskey, you do cheese, maybe whatever would you could eat, and produce.
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
They have something like that in Santa Fe. My sister lives in Santa Fe, and she says it's really great. It was sort of what was supposed to happen at the public market on Victoria Street, but the rents there, because of the cost of construction, etc., was so high that nobody could afford it. And Carl will tell you that this will probably need some sort of subsidy from the Santa Barbara Foundation or the Hutton Foundation or somebody to help underwrite some of the business costs so that you can charge a regular fee. The idea being that if you really had an outpost like this, it would be right there where the farmers market is about to relocate. So this would be something like a 7-day-a-week adjunct to the farmers market with other stuff as well. And if San Nuevo has 500 apartments over there, it might be a way to liven up the street.
Okay, well, we'll just as soon as that master plan comes in, we'll consider that, I suppose. So
But
probably
this could happen before the master plan.
another 20, 25 years for that. No, I know, I'm just teasing. All right, well, we got to get out of here. Callie, what are you working on?
I'm working on the other thing that they did at the Coastal Commission, which was approve the consistency determination for the Chumash Heritage National Marine
Oh,
Sanctuary.
nice.
So,
Okay, all right, that's an interesting piece. And Josh, you're all Hilda all the time on the podcast now.
No. This is the other big news of the day. Right before I recorded your show, Jerry, I podcasted with Santa Barbara City Councilwoman Alejandra Gutierrez,
Oh,
who answers questions about rent control, the Dem Party, Wendy Santa Maria, everything
nice.
you possibly want to ask her. So yeah, that's my next big podcast, which I'm gonna sit on for a couple of days and then kind of probably release it Sunday or Monday. I don't want to compete with your show, Jerry.
And Nick, you're on your way out to UCSP to see a big art opening. You've become the
Yeah, I'm getting tired of all this news stuff. It makes somebody thought there was a preview of the work by Keith Puccinelli, who was a local artist, and I got to know before he died. And his stuff is just so much fun to look at, and it just grabs you. And I don't know the right art words, but it's really fun. He does illustrations, and anyway, I just think I need a break from big bureaucratic stories. So turgid, I can't even understand them. I'm gonna go look at some pictures.
all right. Okay. Nick Welsh, Josh Molina, and Callie Fausey, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time on Newsmakers.
Thank you.